unexpectedly late. Is that what they call it?
Suppose.
You do realize the dog is 100% going to come and fuck with us, right?
Probably. I'm wondering, can we go online now and view? Can you guys go to the Bearded Axe to see if we're actually on?
I don't know.
I do.
Oh, is it?
Actually, one reason is I wasn't sure if like we would need a second phone. Later, probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, keep checking.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, are we live right now?
yeah, trying.
So I should avoid saying curse words?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Alright, hold on.
Oh, you did little Drachenfest updates?
Yeah. Come on. What are you doing?
Oh, you did little Drachenfest updates?
There's no video. What the hell?
No. Oh no. It works so hard.
Alright. Stupid. Let me try and figure this out, folks.
Alright. I'll just sit here and yell. What are you looking at? What are you doing? Come on down.
Oh, I see. Hold on. There we go.
Or not.
Or is there a lag?
It's changing.
Yeah. Okay. Defaulted to the front camera or the back camera, whichever.
Still got nothing. Probably should have picked
There
it
we
up.
go. Oh,
Yeah, there he goes.
there we go. Alright.
Still avoid curse words, right?
Yeah, I'd appreciate it, but if you let it slip, that's nothing I can do. I can't take it back. All right, folks. Welcome to the Bearded Axe channel. My name is Brian,
And Diego,
Brian?
and in-game name Ulfgar.
Ulrich.
Pure enough.
All right, so we just got back. Well, yesterday it ended, and we packed up our stuff and are just kind of, I guess, ruminating, thinking about our final thoughts of Drachenfest. So I usually like to give like the good and bad and the ugly of any kind of review. And so we'll start with the bad, the ugly, and then the good. I like to end on a high note. So yeah, I guess I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts. So Björn, what are your what do you think could have been improved, or what some bad moments?
I'm going to start with the minor things and work my way up. I think one of the minor things, I know I'm going to steal this from Diego because he's the one who actually was talking about it the other day, is food carts, right? They had like one food cart there, which wasn't open late. And as most LARPers know, like, you know, we need food late. 9, 10 o'clock is not unreasonable for a LARPer to want to eat. So I think they could have had more food carts, or at least more choices of food somewhere on their premises. Maybe do a feast or something like that. I mean, I know a lot of people brought their own food, but, you know, they could have had more food carts. Another negative was the fighting. I don't think there was enough combats. Now that could have been not necessarily anybody from Drachenfest or staff's fault. It kind of was in our hands if the different groups, different colored groups, did not attack each other. You know, it's kind of in our hands to determine when we're gonna fight and when we're not gonna fight. So, but there wasn't as much fighting as I was kind of hoping for. I thought there should have been a couple more encounters between the different camps and a couple more different fighting.
Folks were a bit trigger shy, considering that death could be permanent in the game.
True.
Not likely, but could be.
Yeah, there was always, they always left it hanging that there could be negatives, because I know on Thursday night they said if you died, you were just basically gonna respawn somewhere, and that it was okay. So that was when I was thinking that we were gonna do a lot more fighting, and in truth, I think Thursday, what did we do? Like one battle, I think, one or two maybe.
Yeah.
So not too many, but that was one of the negatives. Let me think for a second.
It also depends on what camp you were in.
Yeah.
Some camps had some more battles than others.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Thursday
less.
night it was, I think Red attacked Shadow, didn't you guys?
Yeah.
And then Blue attacked Red,
Yeah.
and then Red and
Yeah.
Green attacked Blue, and
Yeah.
that was it. that was, so there's 3 battles right there.
Right.
That was it for all Thursday night.
Thursday day, really.
Thursday day, yeah. Or no, that was Wednesday. I apologize. That was Wednesday.
Mhm.
Thursday.
No, that's Thursday.
It
You're
was
right.
Thursday.
Wednesday was set up.
Wednesday
Which is
was-
pretty
yeah.
much when we set up.
That's right. That's right. I apologize.
I think game on was at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. So those are 2 of the negatives. I don't want to go into the positives yet. I got a bunch of those. Another issue that I was just told about, and again, this is from people in my camp. I was unfortunately not able to attend Friday, so some of the people that were in the camp with me on the green team, they had done a lot of work to do different rituals and whatnot, and they did some really cool rituals to boost themselves up, getting ready for a fight. I think they did like more than one of them, at least 2, and they were all hyped and ready to go out and literally just attack whoever. And they were ready to roll out, and then they were told that there was a ceasefire. Now, I think there was miscommunication, or incorrect communication would be better termed. And by the time they got done sorting it out, because they kind of held the green team back from doing what they wanted to do, by the time they got it all sorted out, it was pretty much done. So they didn't end up being able to attack. They didn't end up being able to use all the rituals that they did that day, and I think there was a big disappointment on the green side for that. I think they were very upset that they were not able to, basically, like, just imagine you're sitting there and you get pumped up with all these spells, they do all these rituals, or howling, because green team is all about nature and everything, so they're howling like wolves, and they're getting all these buffs. And now that everybody's like all psyched, and they're going through doing speeches and getting all ready to go, and now all of a sudden you're just, nope, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people on green were upset about that. They did, the staff did, I believe, and again, this is just from what I heard, they did compensate by giving the green team an egg to compensate for what they would have done.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was nice as a compensation, but again, I'm sure the green team would have preferred to have
Yeah.
gone out and attacked whoever they needed to.
Yeah, I think the experience is more important than the actual reward, the potential reward,
Yeah,
the stories and whatnot.
exactly. So those are 2. I mean, if I think of any more, while Diego gives his.
All right, Diego, Ulrich, what is your bad moments?
Well, first, I think we should just, let everyone know, like, you were in red camp.
Yeah.
I was in shadow camp, and he was in
Sure.
green camp. So we all had, like, different views, different, experiences, because we were at different camps. For my bad, like Brian said, the food, that was, for me, a big one, because I thought it was going to be more of a festival-like experience, because, like, if other games like Bickeling, there's food options well into the night. We're all drinking at night, and that's the time when you really want to get food in you,
Right.
and that's the time when food, like, basically stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's minor, it's the first year of an event, so I'm not going to hold it too hard against them, but it'd be cool, obviously, next year they add that option.
Yeah, I mean, we could always go out to eat, but I mean, you're in full garb to go out to
Yeah.
eat. Probably gonna ungarb, then go out to eat, and then
Yeah.
come back, regarb, and then go, or just walk into the diner like this, which I've
Yeah.
done more than once.
I would have done it.
I've done that more than once.
We did that yesterday at Wendy's.
we-
Like, I showed up and,
Yeah, buddy.
We literally went right to Wendy's dressed in full garb. So.
but that's one minor thing. The other thing is, I think there's a lot of aspects of Drachenfest that don't translate well to American culture.
Yes.
And this isn't the fault of the game, because the culture and spirit it was created in is fundamentally different than ours. America's hyper competitive.
Yep.
We want to win, and that really was like the biggest problem in the game. And I can't put the blame on the game runners because, in all fairness, they didn't anticipate it. They were thinking it would probably be something closer to what happens in Germany.
Mhm.
But because of this, I felt like a lot of things were hampered. One, the bazaar, and also getting food during the day, getting drinks during the day, like exploring the areas that weren't directly camps. Um, Almost like didn't happen at all. Like you couldn't escape your camp or do stuff because you were afraid you were going to get attacked. My camp was like one of the smallest, if not the smallest camp in game. It was between us and Silver for smallest, and our camp was literally the most open location of any camp.
Right.
It's true.
There were three main entryways to our camp. Like the one main thoroughfare that went from the bazaar down to like where blue and green camp are, and then the path that went directly to the main field with the ritual circle where everyone was going. And it literally all met like in front of our gate. And because of that and our small size, we were often targets.
Yeah.
You know, we were easy targets.
Right.
And
Bully.
Very hard to defend against. Like Silver.
and you know it makes sense. Like you want, again, people are trying to win the game, so
Easy point.
yeah. And we I know, excuse me, Thursday I was stuck at camp almost all day, and there were many times I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get a beer now.
Yeah.
And that time never came.
Yeah.
And because of that, you know, I didn't go into it much later, but I became a loyal patron of the bar.
Right.
And my name was on the wall.
His name is actually on the wall. I saw it on the wall.
And that'll go into another little bit of a negative, but I'll go back to that later. But I was talking to the bartender, and Marion, who was amazing, great person to RP with, one of my highlights of the event, was telling me that there was no business during the day, and that the next day they were just going to open at 7 because there was no point in opening earlier. So financially, the game was encountering issues because people weren't buying the beer that they ordered, and they were expecting more and more, and not enough was getting drunk. As a result of that, they started giving away beer for free, and because they had to get rid of it, like they bought it, they had to get rid of it.
So if you pre-bought,
Well, yeah. So me, I was a generous patron on the first night, and pre-purchase slots
Right.
to enjoy the bar experience, which may or may not include a drink. And effectively, all those slots I had purchased didn't matter because now it was free for
Right. Right.
everyone.
Right.
yeah. So you bought stuff that became free.
Yeah. Which I don't mind helping the game, you know, like helping them mitigate some of the costs. Personally, for me, it would have been nice if they I don't know. I know a gold's a lot of money, but
Reimburse.
from like a financial production standpoint, it would have been nice to just toss me a coin,
Yeah.
you know, and I would have been
Yeah.
happy as can be, you know.
Then you would have been stuck with a lot of coins like I am right now.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But
money bags over there.
yeah. But I what I really felt was I felt bad for the bar, and one of the things I tried to do throughout the day was get people go to camps and mention oh, go to the bar tonight, and when they were doing the free drinks, I was letting everyone know, because also part of the festival experience is to get together and drink and be merry and social interaction, and you don't even have to drink to be there. You can just be there to be there.
Yeah, I mean they did that on Saturday. They all a lot of the avatars went into the bar. Of course, the blue avatar,
Now
just a party animal,
the thing
was
is,
living in the bar.
that was the last night though. You know,
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
every night in between it was a little, the last 2 nights have picked up more obviously, but yeah, so there was that aspect of it, the bar and all that. Then there was the bazaar, which were all the vendors who during the day I heard didn't get a lot of foot traffic because a lot of people were defending their camps. They were
Mhm.
worried.
Mhm.
And it's because it boils down to like everyone was like in this competitive state of mind
Yeah.
where they wanted to win and felt like they couldn't afford to leave their camp, or half their people were doing lessons or stuff like, you know, in-game stuff that they were attending to. So like the camps, whoever wasn't doing that kind of felt like, I gotta stay at the camp and like do something, like
Mhm.
stand guard. I have a feeling in Drachenfest proper in Germany that's not as much of an issue, also
Mhm.
because there's just more bodies
Yeah.
in every camp.
Way
So,
more people.
Yeah.
so like you're able to go out and experience
Mhm.
these things.
They had actually told me they have around six. I had spoke to one of the, me and you both
Yeah.
spoke to one of the people that actually played Drachenfest in Germany.
Organizes it.
Organizes
Like,
it,
one
yeah,
of the-
apologies.
Yeah.
Organizes it in Germany. And she had mentioned that they have like 6,000 people there. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's a whole different world there.
Literally 20 times the amount of people we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because we don't have those numbers,
We're just a
it,
child, right?
yeah, it's the baby version right now.
Exactly.
But it sucks because now vendors might not, you know, if they didn't see a good return, what's the guarantee they're going to come back?
Yeah.
And I think it's important for like people were so concentrated on the game aspect. I feel like the festival aspect
Yeah.
was put to the side,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things I was really excited for because I like games that have this festival aspect.
I gotta agree with that 100%.
That's why I love Bickween. Like I love Bickween because, you know, the fighting happens on the battlefield, but the town is a town. Like
Yeah.
you're experiencing like life in a town. And I was hoping to have it at Drachenfest. It didn't quite. I felt like I was playing a war game 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And it was also draining, you know.
But we also got to keep in mind that it is their first time.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would imagine as they get bigger and as things start happening, that may
Yeah.
down the road become, you know, viable. But
Yeah.
right now, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and again, these are all negatives, but it's not like the game did something wrong.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, they were doing it the way that it's been done, time and time again.
Yeah.
The other main thing that I personally wasn't a fan of was during the big fight. I felt like the refs sometimes caused more harm than good.
Yeah. I agree.
There were times where they were just standing in the way, and I couldn't fight properly because literally there's a wall of refs just protecting us from trees. Like,
Right.
and I couldn't swing my sword or, you know, properly hold the line. I was very limited because I was worried for the ref safety.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of roughing the ref, you know.
Yeah.
And also there would be times that they would be like, I know they were trying to prevent people from getting trampled, but sometimes they kind of helped in the trampling because they added more bodies that didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are, you know, veteran LARPers, have been doing this for a while, and I felt like we could have handled some of that on our own. They didn't need to be as proactive in that because it just, like I said, I felt like it caused more harm than good. And this is specifically in like the side where I was fighting because it was being attacked on two fronts, so it was like intense. Like there was, you know, combat happening like there for a while. And the other thing, there was a lot of safety holds where combat stopped, we took a knee, but I felt like a few of them might have been like,
Oh,
like,
right.
like,
Somebody saying hold the line.
Yeah,
And everybody's like, oh, what? Somebody said hold, and
Because-
everybody
Yeah.
drops.
because
And
also,
stops fighting.
and that's an American LARP thing where hold is a typical keyword in a lot of games
Yeah.
where it's a safety thing, you know.
was their call.
Timeout was theirs, and
But most of the people in America, or at least in New Jersey, this area, are so used to the hold call.
Okay.
Mhm.
And as Diego said, somebody actually did call hold the line, and somebody
stopped there.
they heard someone heard the word hold, and
Yeah.
they repeated it back in a loud tone, and the next thing you know, we're all on our knees with our hands up in the air, and the refs are trying to figure out who called hold and why. And there was in the Grand Melee probably about 8 at least holds called or 9.
Yeah.
But you know, not to bring up a positive during the negative thing, it was amazing just that the people you had like over 200 people that instantly on a call when they called hold instantly dropped to their knees, put their hand above their head, and remained silent, which I thought was very impressive for the actual people that were playing the game.
And not for nothing, that kind of it reinforces the fact like we all know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're safety's everyone's concern. And again, that same gripe, like there were a lot of things that they were trying to micromanage that we could have handled.
Yeah.
And also in doing some of these holds and shifting things, it changed the pace of battle. I'm not saying it would have changed any outcome, but certain areas became more vulnerable, like healers got attacked easier because of few of these holds, you know, and basically the triage unit got pushed up and more exposed by attacking forces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think blue and green, or not blue and green, but blue and shadow were like very poorly positioned. And couldn't reposition. Like,
Yeah, that was
kind of hurting you.
That was the other thing. It was like
truly was.
the deployment was like very unequal for that battlefield, and they were working with what they had. But I think that the deployment wasn't fair to every side. Granted, silver and green had like the one disadvantage of their avatars being very close to the ritual circle, which is a disadvantage. We were the furthest away, but they also had the high ground, which is an advantage.
Right.
And
I think they also had the numbers too. I think
Yeah.
if you combine green, silver, and red,
Right.
so silver had most of silver team, if not all of silver team, hung back. While green and red went in on blue, and blue was definitely outnumbered. There's no doubt about it. But you know, in this type of game, that's going to happen. You know, it's impossible to come up with absolute equal odds. And you know what? Players are determining this, so you can't.
And
There's nothing that staff or anybody can do to try to equal out if there's that little bit of over. But it was still a great fight, I thought, and I thought you know, the people that fought were amazing. Everybody across the board.
for the disadvantaged position we were in and the low numbers compared to what we were being attacked with, we held off for a while.
Yeah.
Like most of that fight was that.
Yeah,
And then once that ended, then the fight got quicker towards the end. So it was great. And listen, win lose, I don't think any of us, like me personally, like I didn't really care that much about like the ultimate, you know, outcome. I wanted to try my best and everything, but we lost, and it was like, okay, we lost.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of had that same attitude. They were like, "Wow, we had fun."
Yeah.
Right.
And the combat too. The combat, they go for the very theatrical combat, and I feel like that's kind of hard to do on the battlefield like that. And I'm not like the biggest fan of it, because it feels unnatural to me.
Yeah.
But again, that's just American LARP culture, like American LARP fighting.
You're actually leading into something that I actually wanted to talk about. As much as I've seen some amazing theatrical fights, and I'm not putting anything against it, when you do a theatrical fight, you also lose the actual LARP fight, which involves skill. Like people actually practice LARP fighting. If you like, and I'm sure the community or the people that are watching this understand what I'm talking about. There are some people that actually really know how to LARP fight, and you watch two of those people go against each other. It's skill versus skill, and it's an amazing thing to watch. It's an amazing thing to be a part of. And unfortunately, I think when you do theatrical, you lose that. But if you do that, you lose theatrical.
Right.
So it's all on one or the other. And I think maybe trying to balance that. Not everything should be theatrical, and not everything should be you know, lark fighting, like skill fighting.
Or like maybe they can have a separate tournament where it's like, you know, because like I said before, you know, American LARPers, we want to win,
Right.
and we want to fight the way that's going to get us to win. And I remember when I saw the Champions tournament, I was very confused when I first got there because I missed like the very beginning, or maybe they explained how they were scoring it.
Nope.
But like it was like whoever put on the best performance won. So like you could have lost every single of your fights, but you could have ended up the champion.
Right. Okay.
As long as like you, I guess, sold it well, which that's cool and everything. But I know I was kind of like I don't know how I should my expectation was I wanted to see like skilled fights.
Yeah. I did too, absolutely.
And there's no problem with what they did. It's just, you know, we're not used to it.
Yeah, it's just a different way to do it. And in my opinion, it wouldn't be my preferred way to do it. I would actually like to see some skilled fighting go on here and there. Theatrical's great, and again, I've seen some amazing theatrical fights, and I've also seen some amazing skill fights. And I think they need to blend those two, or at least draw a line and say, hey, we're going to be this is all going to be skill fights, and this is going to be theatrical, and combine the two if possible. I don't even know if it's possible, but it would be great to just see a little bit of skilled and a little bit of theatrical. I can tell you myself in the main melee, I actually stepped out of the main melee with somebody else, like somebody on the red team, and we challenged each other and just fought each other one-on-one, and had an amazing fight, and I thank him for that fight. He ended up winning, and it was great, but to me that was like a highlight of my trip, just fighting somebody who actually really has some really good skill at fighting, and it's a competition, you know, so there is that. Again, getting back to the US and competition-wise, you know, it's enjoyable to some extent. Even if you lose, I lost, but I still had. It was one of the highlights of my Drachenfest was fighting like that person.
Cool.
So.
Okay.
How about you, Pop?
All right. Thank you, my boy. In game, I'm his adopted father, and like he adopted me as his father, or vice versa. So either way, it's an inside thing. My bad that I didn't like. I didn't like how I was always kind of waiting in camp for something to happen that never did. Like I was expecting like quest hooks kind of come our way, and then we can like either say yay or nay to said quest hook. And I was standing watch a lot. Like my first night, I was just standing watch all night and kind of taking charge of camp and making sure that the watchmen were relieved to get food, get drink, to enjoy their evening instead of just being on watch all night waiting for attack. That never happened. And that it was always like that the whole event. Something would, like, we were supposed to guard the ritual circle for all these mages to do a ceremony.
I'm glad you brought
And
that up.
I'm like, all right, this is gonna be awesome. It's just gonna be a handful full of fighters from each faction, and we're gonna be out there and we're gonna just be attacked by ghouls in the middle of the night, and this would just be badass. It's gonna be cool. And we were waiting for like an hour or more.
They rushed us out there too.
Yeah. And so it's like, all right, cool, we're ready. And then nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Then we realized blue team wasn't there. And we're like, oh, it's all a ruse. Blue team just wanted to get us all out here, and then they could just attack white camp, which had all the banners in
Silver
it.
camp.
So silver camp, sorry. And then so we're like, oh great. So we had to send a runner back to our camp and tell them, hey, blue's attacking silver. So and then we just hightailed it to silver. Waited around for another hour. Nothing happened.
Nothing, because Blue was partying the entire time. But Blue was having a great laugh on us as we're running around thinking that they're doing this and they're over there partying.
And so like it was just kind of a just disappointing evening after evening. I'm just expecting like, what about questing? How do we I want these fights to happen. I got there much later in the day because I was like staying overnight somewhere else, and so I would get there like after everybody's already geared up and went out to do a campaign to attack another camp, things like that. And so I did come to find out later that if I wanted to quest, if if I wanted to do something, I just had to talk to the refs.
Yeah.
And they facilitate these things. So they don't have pre-written mods with NPCs and gear. They literally have players like, hey, I want to do this, and the refs try to do their best to see if they can make that happen for you.
They need to make that more clear.
Right.
Because I was completely unaware of it.
Right, likewise, and I was also, I was just gonna say, well, whatever, I'm gonna go into the bazaar, like, yesterday, Saturday, to see what I can do to kind of like just go on a quest. And some of the guild leaders were like, hey, I need you to go do a fetch quest, or go deliver this kind of quest. That were nice, but it was just, I didn't know this until almost the very end of the event. Wasn't communicated, but again, this is probably the culture that they take for granted, and they have people there. It's like, oh, you want to do this? Like your own campmates would tell you, oh, well, let's go talk to the ref, or we'll talk to the camp taskmaster, or whatever, any quests that we can send you on.
This should have been something that like on the website should have been like starred.
Yeah.
Bolded, like, hey,
Frequently asked questions.
when you frequently asked questions when you guys come. If you want a quest or you have something you're interested in, please talk to staff about it. Now, and again, it actually may be on the website, but it's not like right there in your face, and I think it needs to be.
I think there's like a forum, because I heard people talking a lot about the forums and like all this stuff, and I had no idea forums existed. And if they do, I don't even know what platform they're on. So I agree with you. Like there was a lot of content that I didn't realize like how to access it, and how to go about it. And like people would be talking about classes and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, what do you do?
Right.
Like I didn't even know that this existed, because on the website, it doesn't really detail anything.
Right.
So going into it, because when I go to the website, I like to like just experience it and see how it is. But I like to read ahead of time so I know how to experience it. And I wish they highlighted that stuff more. So like what happened to you, or actually what happened to probably all of us, wouldn't happen.
Right. So the other issue is again like a miscommunication issue is that I wanted to take an alchemy class, and I was like, all right, well I'm here for my alchemy class, and like, okay, do you have your cipher? It's like, what cipher? It's like, no, you have to fill out the cipher to see if you can even have the capacity to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, nobody talked about a cipher, but you have it, so I can fill it out right now. And they're like, well, we don't have it. I was like, well, what? We ran out of copies. Oh, okay. Well, can we just get one real quick? And
Yeah.
Like, well, no, you're gonna have to come back later. So, like, but I'm missing out on the class. Like, well, we'll give you a private lesson. And so I'd come back later throughout the whole week. I'd be like, hey, can I get that cipher? Can I get that cipher? They didn't give me a copy of that cipher until Friday at 10 p.m. Or Thursday, 10 p.m. And so Friday I was trying to fill it out, and I came on Friday. I was like, okay, I've got the cipher. When can we schedule this private lesson to kind of go through this? I was like, oh, we're slammed with time. We don't have time for you. It felt like a big runaround.
Yeah.
And I'm not doubting that they were busy, but it felt like, okay, I wish I had pulled the trigger on this before. At least I know that I need to grab the cipher and that sort of thing. And they could have been a little bit more well prepared with extra ciphers. I mean, just print up a buttload of these things and just have them in a folder somewhere. And so it's always better to have too much than not enough in this sort of situation. And that was my other bad. So that's all I can think of right now. There's a lot of other minor stuff, but I'm very forgiving of the minor stuff. And I just kind of like, oh, whatever. Okay, so let's move on to the ugly, the worst part about all of this. So let's go with you, Bruno. The
Worst part. I mean, I honestly, I kind of named all the negatives that upset me. As far as the absolute worst, you had mentioned something about Thursday night, us running around from one area. So what had happened was, and I'm going to go back to that because that kind of really aggravated me the most out of the whole entire thing. Friday night, they had mentioned something about I think every single camp had a runner that ran to them telling them that these ghouls or spirits were going to come out.
Yeah.
They were performing some sort of ritual, and all these ghouls and spirits were going to come out and everybody needs to be there. So everybody assembled on this hill, right by the circle, and you have the commanders walking back and forth, giving war speeches and getting everybody pumped. I mean, they're like, they're gonna come and we gotta be ready, and if you die, you die. Like you just need to protect everybody. We have a mission, blah blah, and everybody's pumped right now, ready to do something.
Right.
And then literally, it's like nothing happens. It was that to me was the absolute worst. And then on top of that, they're like, "Oh, it was all a ruse. We got to go protect our banners. It's the blue team. They're going to get our banners." So everybody runs to silver to go, back up and reinforce their banners. Then when they find out the banners are still there, they form lines after lines, because silver was the most defensible. So they form lines after lines of defense for silver's banners, in which case we just sat there for like an hour twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah.
Literally, thumbs up our butt, just standing there doing nothing.
Right.
And at a certain point, I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I've been standing out here for like 2 to 3 hours, nothing.
Right.
I'm going back to camp. I'm done.
Right. It wasted our time. We could have been just chilling at camp.
Yep.
By the fire.
Enjoying the festival.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Drinking,
Shopping.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
Checking out the vendors.
Shopping, checking out vendors. We could have been doing anything other than what we were doing.
And maybe like the main issue was maybe with that whole ghoul thing. Maybe that was something that like one person said, because I feel like this happened.
Yeah.
Like a person would like say something like
And it steamrolls. And
Yeah,
it's a
and-
bigger thing,
like that happened one night in the bazaar with a vampire, where somebody was like, "There's a vampire attacking people," and
Yeah.
it all started because one person
But that
said one little
Yeah.
thing that like rolled out of control, and like everyone's like looking for vampires. Like,
Here's the thing. That being the case, right? Staff is at every camp, which I'm gonna get to my good parts later. I think it's great that staff is at every camp. You got multiple staff people at every camp. They got the walkie-talkies. They can easily communicate stuff back and forth with each other. If they know, if they see everybody assembling to move out someplace, and they have an idea that, hey man, nothing's really supposed to be going on here, like, staff should have an idea that, hey, everybody's going to go out and fight these ghouls. If they know that this may not be true, hey, hit somebody up, be like, hey, our entire team is heading out towards this area for ghouls. Is there really going to be ghouls there? At least check it, And same thing, vice versa. Every camp, somebody should have checked that, gotten back to them, been like, dude, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there.
I think this also like is a thing that is a fundamental difference between American LARP culture and these other sorts of games, because what the answer might have been is, you got players from other camps that weren't there to like basically NPC and play ghouls. Like they're not playing their characters.
Right.
Bickeling does things like that, where like, people will be like, "Oh, we're gonna dress up like blah 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 and like be villains for this," but it's player agency that drives it. It's not the staff. The staff never like says, "Hey, we want you guys to do this." It's like players are like, "Oh, what would make a cool scene is if we do that." And I think
we put on like a quest and mods for other players.
Yeah.
Players doing mods. And
I
quests for
I
other
actually
players.
think that's awesome if they do that, but it was kind of like it didn't happen.
Right.
I think that in other games like like other countries like games, it's just natural to their system. We're used to staff organizing hooks and plots and like kind of like leading us a bit.
That's true.
Right.
So we don't like American LARPers might not think like, oh, like we have to take control of this and like figure it out. And again, it's
Yeah, a difference of culture. Is not
a difference
necessarily
of
good or bad.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are your worst parts about this whole thing?
The food, like I
Yeah.
said, that
Okay.
was that really like to me.
But the absolute ugliest thing about this whole event.
The amenities.
Okay.
I thought that the bathroom situations and shower situations were definitely less than to be desired for. It's for the price point that you're paying
Yeah.
to go to the event, and if you paid to stay in an accommodation on top of that, I feel like it wasn't worth it
Yeah.
It's a hefty price, right?
in terms of like what you got amenities wise out of it. Again, this is more, you know, the camp's facilities than anything, but you know, at Bickling, for instance, they have entire like porta john like hubs set up,
Yeah.
and like they're cleaned regularly, like once or twice a day. They come and clean them up, and it's very like for a week of people going in porta johns, like it's not a bad experience.
Okay.
Here there were like 2 porta johns that they rented, which I used one of them once, and it wasn't bad, but I think it was because it was like all the way at the far end where nobody was going to. But like
I did use the other one that was close by, and it was at nighttime.
Yeah.
You can't. It's in the complete dark. There's no lights near it.
So you
You
don't
can't
know-
see anything. I walked in. I was like, I can't see anything. I just walked out. I was like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do?
Now in the inn there were like, you know, nicer bathrooms, like, you know, but the thing is they were like the only nice bathrooms.
Right. So there was a
So
line.
everyone was using them, and they were nicer, but like the stalls in the upstairs one are like extremely cramped. Like people like would have trouble in regular clothes,
Right.
like sitting in there. In
Right.
garb, it's like
But if you had armor on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
like-
impossible.
it's impossible.
And then you got so many people going in there that it becomes dirty very quickly.
And then you had the bathhouses, which looked more like they belonged in Camp Crystal Lake than Camp Sacagawea. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Jason Voorhees is
yeah,
He's
like,
coming to get you.
you know, like some of the showers like didn't even have curtains.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was like stuff that was being stored there from the camp. It looked like there was black mold in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some of them. Like, you know, the doors to the stalls. Like, if I'm standing, the height of the door was here. Like, you could see perfectly.
You're
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's all right.
Well, all right. So
Not
right.
if it would be like here, like my head would be here,
Mhm.
and you could just literally just peer in. So it's like
Yeah.
not very private,
Right.
like almost no lighting. Yeah, I definitely felt like, you know, Jigsaw would like probably captured me and like locked me into these
Right.
like these
Let's
things.
play a game.
Yeah, like it wasn't pleasant, and because of that, I ended up going to a friend's house 15 minutes away just to like clean up,
Yeah.
and like I would miss chunks of the game because I wanted to stay hygienic. And yeah, I think for the price that they were charging and everything, the facilities could have been better. And I don't know if they're gonna use the same location. I heard rumors they aren't, and you know that they are, you know.
Yeah.
But like that's something that should be addressed.
Okay.
To roll off that real quick, I also talked to another gentleman that I know that said that if he was in the shower, in the bathhouse, and a couple people came in, and they turned on their shower, his water instantly got cold. So he was like, you know, like,
Yeah.
oh my god, and that was it. Like I guess it's the order that you go in.
Right.
You get the hot water, so if you're like the first stall, you get the hot water. If you're not, you don't.
You got
You're instantly, if somebody else is in that first stall, you're instantly cold.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's that too. You gotta take into consideration.
Okay. Alright.
Yeah, those are my ugliest things. And again,
Okay.
fortunately, to me, those aren't really
Yeah.
staff issues per se, more the facilities. But
It depends on contractually who's obligated to do the cleaning and whatnot.
yeah,
It's also not game breaking, right?
Yeah.
We're not bringing up things that are, you know, things that are like, oh my god, never going back there,
Yeah.
right? We're basically giving negatives.
Yeah.
And these
Well,
are the
we're gonna
negatives.
follow it
They're
up
not-
with the goods.
Right.
Yeah.
These are not like, hey,
Right.
you know, I advise you guys don't go.
Right.
All in all, it's great,
Right.
but it's, you know, these
Yeah.
are the negatives that
And-
they can improve upon,
Right.
pretty much.
and I think like part of it is like, yeah, if you were paying to stay on camp, like with either a tent or a cabin, the prices that they were asking for, I felt were
Yeah.
even before the event, I thought were really high, like a little unreasonably high.
Right.
And it was reflected because I know at my camp there were like 4 big tents that were empty,
Yeah.
and like in the cabin, more than half the bunks were empty because they hadn't gotten rented. So it's kind of like really like I mean I brought a period tent and I stayed in that with a frame built by this guy, fully collapsible and transportable.
Right, and a little Scion, a little compact
In a Scion XD, so
yeah.
I stayed in my tent, but it kind of I felt like I really didn't need to go through like all this extra work because you had room to spare. And if it had been cheaper, I would have just signed up to like have a bunk or something. And I think the game would have generated more money actually because more people would have been down to pay the price if it was like more
worth the
affordable.
effort. Yeah.
I think that's true too.
All right, so my ugly was the final battle. I was really into it. I was hitting people. I was swinging for medium, and because there was plate, and I wanted to make sure that they felt it, and there's padding, and there was and I was swinging with a wyvern craft, and those generally hit hard, but I just understand that it's foam is that the most it'll leave somewhat of a bruise. It'll make people feel uncomfortable, and so a lot of people complain, hey, check your blows. Like, all right, cool. And I tried to, but then some people would just, whenever they played, they would just leave, right? And I ended up striking somebody like with a 3-hit combo, and the ref said, and the other guy said, hey, check your blows again. I was like, all right, cool. And then the ref says, ignore all but one of those shots. So it was a good combo, and the guy only had to take one of those shots. I was a little miffed about that, but after a while, the ref pulled me out, says, no, you're done, you're dead. No warnings, nothing like that. And says, well, why? I was like, well, you're hitting people too hard, and you're just out of control. I was like, so there's no appeal, I can't do anything? No, you're done. You're
Said
dead.
you were
can't
out of
come back."
control?
Yeah. And so it was like, no warning, nothing, no appeals. He's like, no, there's nothing we can do. And I think he felt bad about it, but I don't know if he's had higher ups telling him, like, no, take him off. He's causing problems. So I was like, okay. So part of that is like, okay, player base needs to understand that this is mock combat. You're going to be hit. It might be uncomfortable.
Keyword combat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be like it's potentially going to be uncomfortable. Discomfort does not equal pain. It just means you're uncomfortable. And I have an interesting discussion on that topic, to where if you are potentially put in a position where that discomfort is to a level where you don't really want to deal with that, then maybe being in combat is not for you.
Yeah.
There are other very, very important support roles, like healers, surgeons, alchemists, blacksmiths, mages. There's like a ton of other things other than fighting. So anyway, that's more of a gripe to the player base, but to the staff, I think I could have gotten a warning or something like that, to where it's like, okay, well, maybe not fight. Go back and help with the triage.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I have fought you multiple times. I consider you like my mentor,
Well,
right?
thank you.
So, for someone to call you not in control,
Yeah.
I would have to say they have no idea what you're talking
No, and I agree. And it's,
yeah, I mean, it's people are.
yeah.
I think the problem here is you are on a different level. You're very, very, very good, and I think a lot of people get frustrated when they fight somebody that's really good, where they'll swing at you 10 times, hit 0.
Yeah.
You'll swing once and hit every single time you do it,
With some people, yeah.
and they get frustrated, and that frustration builds to, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
He's got to be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Ow, or
And it could just be a gut emotional reaction where like, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this level of intensity, and therefore I'm going to speak to a ref about this. And then, enough people do it, then guess what? I get booted. Okay, but at least give me a warning. That's my biggest problem. I was also told one of the reps stepped in front of Argon, my buddy, and the Argon was like, whoa, what's going on? Why did I get hit with something? And the ref wasn't even there for him. I guess he just stepped in to grab an arrowhead, and then the other side took advantage of that and attacked Argon. And I think he died from that. Like he fell on the field because of it. And Argon didn't have hardly any armor on.
Yeah.
And so he dropped and that was it. So the refs were literally in the way. People took advantage of that. They were kind of hurting people, putting them in a bad position.
Yeah.
I think the battlefield could have been handled a lot more better, Esther. Yeah. So I think the boundaries could have been bigger. Like we could have maybe deployed one on the roads that are coming into the ritual area, the big hill. I think that could have been a better option.
Yeah.
And just understand like, hey, look, if
Actually,
you go into the field, there might be poison ivy. There, if you go in, there might be trees. So it's on you if you know.
Actually, that would have been probably the best appointment.
Yeah.
Like there were 3 roads that led to the area, and those 3 roads probably were like equidistant from the ritual circle, and had the same equal amount of like tactical like importance.
Right.
That would have.
You should have definitely gotten a warning though.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that definitely burned me up. It was like it was fairly early on in the battle, and I was doing really well. And I don't know, and I'm not going to be a mind reader, but could it have been like enough people got enough complaints just to get me off of there, because I was holding a line, I was holding off 3 or 4 at a time to keep them from maneuvering out of position. And I was trying to keep them in this poor position so we can keep taking advantage of it. And maybe they say, well, if they take me out, then that's one less combatant, serious combatant that we don't have to deal with anymore. So it could have been meta, but again, I can't read anybody's minds. But it could have been a tactic, because all they had to do is just complain, have enough people complaining to the ref, and the ref automatically just boots people.
Yeah.
And so that could have been like a little kind of avenue to potentially get an advantage.
Honestly, I've seen it before, and not even at Drachenfest, at a different lure, where the person kept doing the same swing. I would block their shot and hit them in the same open spot, which was their arm.
Yeah.
So they swing, I block, hit their arm. Then they do the exact same swing, I block the exact same way and hit their arm in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like letting them know, like, that's the spot.
You're open there. Yeah.
After 5 of them,
Yeah.
the person said, "Ow, you keep hitting me in the same spot."
Right. Yeah. Well, you keep making the same mistakes. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I stopped and I said, okay. I switched and started hitting them in a different position. But the point is, if you're getting hit in the same spot, fix it.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of letting you know, like, hey, look, boom, you're open there.
Yeah.
Boom, you're open there.
The attacker
Boom,
is
you're open there.
the issue. Like you are.
Like yeah, I mean, like somebody hits me in the shoulder, I immediately adjust to block that shoulder where they hit me. I mean, and it could be a new person. It could be for somebody that's their first time. They don't know how to adjust. So there's a lot of factors involved there that we can't really do anything about.
Or we don't know anything.
Yeah, if it's a new person and they don't know how to actually change their fighting style to fix their mistakes or their openings, they may not be as.
So that really burned me out, and there was like another hour and a half of fighting going on, and I just sat and watched it. I got my armor on. I drove 9 hours to get to the event, spent hundreds of dollars to attend, and then the final battle was like, boop, done. No arbitration, no like, what's your side of the story? Nothing. And so that was my updates.
Yeah.
Especially since combat wasn't like
Yeah.
all too readily available. Like,
Right.
That main fight was pretty much like the only fighting I did.
Really?
That was most
Besides
of the
getting
combat of the game.
steamrolled by like
By every
But-
camp ever.
by like
Yeah.
a camp that did an attack, like fighting for like 2 seconds and like 5 guys on him. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that point that you made, that like if they had allowed you to like just switch what you were doing on the battlefield, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Like if they were like, like your sword arm,
Yeah. Your
is
weapons.
racked with
Yeah.
pain or something like that.
Weapons have disintegrated into dust and
Yeah.
can't be used. We're like, okay. Like then they can just pull me on the sidebar. Like, all right, here's the deal. You can still participate, but you're dead. Or your weapons are just useless. You can't really fight.
Yeah, or something so that you could still be active in the fight.
Yeah.
or like you could even be behind like telling people where to go, or
Yeah.
it's
And I would have been okay with a commanding position. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But all right, enough with the ugly. Let's move on.
Because there's a lot of good at this.
Yeah,
and
there
we
really
need
was.
to really get on that.
So
I've been holding back.
I wanted to end on a high note. Let's end on a good note and like talk about the good things about this event. So again, General.
All right. So I would say first thing was this was one of the, I think staff just organized this really well. And a lot of the staff were from another game that I played with called Damron. And I know who they are, and I think they did a phenomenal job just organizing everything, making sure they had enough staff. Now, I do realize during the main melee that the staff kind of got in the way, but there was always staff around, you know, and a lot of times you have problems. You're like, hey, where's staff when you need them? They were always there. At every camp, there was multiple staff members there at every camp. Plus you had the Avatar, which was also staff. So I think the fact that they covered all that was just amazing. The game itself was really good, a lot of fun. I think so. Staff would be first. The fun, the rituals that went on over there, the people that actually ran the rituals, the game itself, everything just seemed to flow really, really nice. Very happy with the game itself. Great. It was a good game.
Role playing was really good. I felt like people stayed in character like 99% of the time. You know, it was just a great experience. All the players were really good. I didn't really see a lot of like toxic, you know, like characters or players in this. Like everybody was ready to like uplift the scene. I really loved interacting with the avatars.
Yeah, they were amazing.
They were really cool. They had their strong characters that they like played out. And it was really awesome to see the times when they would all meet and interact with each other. I really liked that. I loved the bar. But like mostly because like I had formed, like I was like the bar's best customer. And like because of that I would talk to the bartender and be like, oh, what's up with the, you know what I mean, like, and we had like this cool relationship, like that it really helped me be in this world, like make it a real world, like all those like little sort of relationships
It became immersive.
Yeah,
like, and I felt the same way. I think a lot of it became immersive in the game.
I think like the magic rituals were cool. I wish I did more of it. I had ritual caster and I only was like involved in one ritual like the last day. And I thought, like, you know, it was cool when you were doing the ritual, because for people who don't know about it, if you cast rituals and if you die during the casting of it, you permanently die. Because
I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, that's one reason why when people would perform rituals, they wanted people to protect them, because if you die casting a ritual, you permanently die, because you're accessing, like, you know, very strong magics.
I know the green team did a lot of rituals, and I thought they were really cool the way they went off, and it really kind of pumps you up when they do it in the right way. I mean, everybody kind of gets into it, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you know, I forget a couple of the things that I want to give as positives, but the rituals were amazing. They did such a great job with them, and just got everybody involved, you know.
Keep it up. I guess
It was also cool, like, you know, I feel like players really came together a lot. You know, me personally, like, I feel like I didn't get as close with my camp as I would have like to. I'm not saying that's like their fault or my fault, you know. But like it was cool seeing people like form really strong bonds and you know getting close, and I would see that across all the camps, and I thought that was really cool. There was this mother and child that were like walking around the camp.
Yep.
And they loved Shadow Camp. They were at Shadow Camp all the time, and the you know the Avatar would just you know humor the kid, have it show the kid a good time. I was doing it because you know it helped make it a magical experience for someone so young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
the avatars were phenomenal.
Yeah,
They
were.
really were. And
really,
each one had their own personality, and you know, my hat's off to every single one of those avatars. I give you all the best credit in the world. Played phenomenally. I mean,
along with their seconds, the staff members that played their seconds did a phenomenal job. And they really they made the game. And my one regret is I didn't get to experience Limbus, which I hear was like, which was like the like the afterlife that you know when you died you went there. I guess like minor gripe. Didn't realize a lot of us didn't realize that Limbus would be closed before the main battle.
I didn't know that either.
So I thought I would die in the main battle and experience it.
Me too.
But if it doesn't make sense to because everybody's like, or at least 90% of the people are gonna die in the main battle.
Well, I didn't know how
You
Limbus
had,
worked, so like I didn't know
neither.
if you know
Me
people
neither.
could trickle in and experience, you know.
Right.
I figured I'm gonna die sometime during the weekend, and I'm gonna end up there. And
I didn't die.
There was actually a point where I was on Thursday where I was walking back and forth, and I was like, I just want to go to Valhalla. Like I want to die and go to Limbus. Like let's go. And nothing ever happened.
But it from what I heard, like I heard it was an awesome experience for everyone who did it. And like the game really, you know, put a lot of effort into making it a cool, memorable experience. And even though I didn't experience it, I appreciate that they put all that work into it. And obviously, it's no fault of the game that I didn't die. Like you know, but I really appreciate that they took that time to do that. So yeah, I would say the highest notes roleplay was on point, and staff and their characters.
Also, the classes were. I don't know about you guys, but I took a class in Brawler, and the person I took a class with actually did it for a living.
Oh.
So let me tell you, it was a whole different. It was they taught you things that like the mock combat, like actual like physically like punching and fighting, like like how to pretend like I'm gonna punch you,
like wrestling sort of moves.
like mock. It's not mock anything with no weapons whatsoever. Just I'm gonna punch you, I'm gonna knee you, I'm gonna knock over the drinks that we have here. But yeah, like even stuff like that, it's like, you know, they did it so well. And I learned a lot. So when I first stepped into the class, I was like, oh, here we go. You know, it's gonna be one of those things where they're gonna keep me here for an hour, and then they're gonna give me a little badge that says I learned something, even though I already know it. Right? Not the case at all. And I was so impressed with how, and I don't mean to jump over, but I forgot a couple of the good points. The training was just amazing. Like I learned stuff about mock combat that like after I was done, me and another guy were throwing each other around, and I truly felt like we were doing just an amazing job of, you know, using what we learned to make it look more theatrical and better. And it was very impressive. I mean, you know, so I was very happy with that. And unfortunately, I only caught one class, but there was a secondary, and I heard there was even a third. So, I mean, if I would have gone all three, I would have learned a lot more. Unfortunately, like you guys said earlier, you kind of get stuck in your camp with other things to do and other things going on. So you kind of, unfortunately, can't keep running back and forth, you know, to classes all day. But they were really, really, really done well.
The other thing that was really cool was that the game itself rewarded players in ways that weren't combat oriented.
Right,
Like
absolutely.
people would do quests, do rituals,
Mhm.
you know, do all these extra things that, you know, we maybe wouldn't realize would help us, and like we would be gifted dragon eggs, which are basically
Right.
the main points, the point system of this game.
Mhm.
And it was cool to see them like reward this kind of work, this kind of um, interaction in the game, and make it so that you could be like, my camp at one point was in the lead in points, and we were the smallest camp.
Right.
We didn't capture anyone's banner ever, but our people were out doing everything and like doing classes, doing rituals, doing all this stuff. And because they were doing that, they were getting these rewards. And I think we got a gold egg before anyone else did.
Oh, nice.
And I remember, I think it was Friday. I woke up and we had 2 eggs, and I'm like, how did that happen? I left to go take a shower at my friend's place, and I came back. We had like 4 more eggs, and I was like, what happened in the last 2 hours? Like, you know, like,
I got better than you. I unfortunately had to miss Friday. I came back Thursday. We had 0 eggs. Missed Friday. Came back Saturday. We had 9 eggs. I was like,
I don't know if that's better than me, because I was gone for like 2 hours and like 4 more eggs showed up.
Awesome.
And then
That's awesome.
by the end of the day, we had like enough to have a golden egg.
Nice.
That's great.
It was like, but it was all through these other
Right.
means, and it
They
was
recognized effort in other avenues
Yeah,
other
they
than
did.
just martial
Absolutely.
prowess.
yeah.
Like we got an egg for having the best herb garden, herbalist garden.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think-
how they should do it. I agree
I
with
think
this
they
100%.
might have like, because I think we also got an egg for our herbalist garden.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have been just like for the camps that like,
Actually put forward real effort.
yeah, put
Yeah.
effort.
We might have gotten one for ours. I actually don't remember, but I mean, I know the green team had a. I mean, we're the green team.
Yeah.
No offense to you guys, but you know, when you're
Yeah.
talking about herbalist garden,
Well, we
It's
had
gotta be us.
we had a little pool with like
We
a
did too.
pump, and
Oh,
it would
that's
just
cool.
circulate
Oh.
water.
okay, we didn't have a pump in ours. We had lily pads and stuff
Yeah,
like
we
that.
had vines growing up on the
That's awesome.
the guidelines of our tent, of our pavilion tent.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it was like it
Yeah,
was multiple different types of plants. And,
Definitely on a good note that the players stepped up to create a lot of those things.
Yeah,
To make
it
to make
was
the
the players.
to make the immersion even better.
yeah.
You know, not to interrupt either one of you guys, but there's something before I forget to bring up. There were people there that did almost like a newspaper kind of thing,
Oh, that was
where,
cool.
where they went around. They had reporters that went around and gathered information from each camp, and then they created a kind of like a 1-page, almost like a newspaper that had all these.
It
some
was
of them
front
had-
and back too. It
front
was,
and back, yeah, and it had riddles and it had information.
It had
and I mean,
articles.
It had articles, and like if you actually like read it, it was very, very useful information. I mean, my hat goes off to those guys. I mean, that is really going the extra limit to make it amazing.
And
So
they had like a morning issue and an evening issue. Like
Yes, they did.
I think maybe the last day they missed the morning issue and they only had an afternoon issue.
but still,
But like it's still the fact that they're like
They were
doing this and
pumping
like,
that out on the spot at the camp,
yeah,
you know,
very cool.
creating it and then distributing it throughout the camp. I mean, that alone is amazing. The amount of work that they put in to do that and make our game better.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there was real effort put into it, so it's not like they just took our monies and
Yeah, no.
just didn't do anything. There was real effort.
For the ticket price,
yeah.
for the price of admission to the event, hands down. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna step away. I think I actually have one of their articles upstairs. So
Okay,
we'll
go
just
for
do
it.
a show so
Yeah.
everybody can see it. I'll be right back.
All right. Did you go for your good, or we just organically? Really good?
I think, well, there's one more thing I wanted
Yeah.
to mention,
Yeah.
and you know, because we had some gripes with the combat.
Yeah.
One of the cool things I want to talk about is during that big grand battle, there were a couple times where people had duels, and like when people would realize there was a duel happening, they let it happen.
Yeah.
and
they
like
didn't attack.
both sides would like would be like don't like interfere or like
Yeah.
don't get involved. and even sometimes the opposing, like the person fighting, their enemy would see someone come up from behind to attack who they're dueling, and would tell the people like, stop, we're dueling.
Yeah.
And like would save the other person because like they wanted to have an honorable duel. And I really liked that. I saw it happen multiple times on the battlefield. I thought it was super cool, and it helped. I kind of wish I had gotten to do one, because there was one person I wanted to duel, a guy who had defected from our camp, and he kind of tried to call me out, but it was early in the fight.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
He went to red camp.
No, he went to silver.
Oh, okay, so it's a different guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He used dual weapons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he was trying to pull me out, but I was like, no, I gotta hold the line,
Yeah.
like, shield,
Yeah.
But then I saw other people doing it, I'm like, I kind of wish I had like
Yeah, I
stepped out.
challenged one guy who was like a samurai with dual weapons. I was like, you honor duel. He goes, I can't. I was like, all right. I mean, you can always deny it, but I felt like it would have been nice. Yeah, it kind of.
What was his kit like?
Oh, it was like samurai-esque with like dual swords.
What color was it?
Kind of black and gold.
Oh,
If I
okay.
remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I think he was on blue.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, my like good was that the bazaar looked like a real living, breathing town.
Yeah, very
There
true.
was so much effort put into the bazaar that I gotta say, I just loved every bit of it, and I definitely visited the bazaar like at least a couple of times a day. Partly because I wanted to go to the Alchemist Guild and like get those classes done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I visit the vendors a handful of times, of which I got a nice little shout out of Badass Garb here with this
Yeah, that
tunic
tunic's really nice.
and a little bit of embroidery on the back here, all linen, and I paid about $180 for this thing.
I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah, and it's really comfortable. It breathes really well.
My
and
dog
it
seems
it
to like
fits
it.
me perfectly. Oh, I know you're such a lovely, lovely little dog. And the other thing I bought was Adler's Nemesis, or the Nemesis Workshop was there, and I got their new Athena line of weapons. And after hitting people with the Wyverncraft, which is harder, I got it, and I know Nemesis is just a solid brand. They're pretty much my #1 LARP weapon builder, and I ended up getting this there, and they had a really awesome booth. Them
Oh,
with
the
Kalamazoo.
The sheaths for those were
Yeah.
amazing.
They-
Literally, you could take 2 fingers, slide it out of the sheath,
Yeah.
slide it back in all the way.
Super easy.
Very easily. Very easy to remove.
Yeah, so the Gazette, or the, what is it,
There you go. I got
Nest
that
of
article.
Times.
the Nest of Times newsletter, and they, every day, they
Maybe
would
like
come-
hold it up so they know.
um,
I don't know if you know.
maybe, yeah, so it was a, they would go over the news of the entire, thing,
Yeah.
Right.
Everything. They even gave like a riddle that gave
Yeah.
some stuff away.
yeah.
There was really cool stuff in there that was very useful in the game,
Really,
and just provided
Yeah.
information all the way around. I haven't finished reading it. I do plan on I actually took every single one of them home because I actually want to finish reading all of them. I didn't
Yeah.
get a chance at the event to read all of them, but for those of you who did, I think they realized that this was actually very helpful.
Yeah,
Um,
to let people know what was going on in the whole game,
yeah.
from what happened the day prior, or
even
the
earlier
of-
that day.
Yeah, the day
Yeah.
earlier happened.
Yeah, it was really, 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 really good.
Yeah.
That
And
was
I've
the first-
never seen that in a LARP ever.
ever.
Yeah.
Me neither.
What was really cool is people would be like, "Oh, did you see the new paper?"
Yeah.
Like people would be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like this is the latest paper," and like people were like, "Oh, let me see."
Right,
And
right.
like you pass it around, like it was a legitimate like
Right.
news source that like everyone was like, "Oh, gotta get the."
I
latest.
saw them distributing it. They're like, it's I forget. I think it was 2 copper for it, and I was like, yeah, no problem.
Right.
I'll pay 2 copper for that. Like
Yeah.
Or
So-
no,
So
money
some people,
bags.
like I think
Sad.
the blue Avatar put out an ad on like a full page ad. It was
About-
like a propaganda
No,
piece.
It was when Yeah, it was the day after the party. There was a big party at the
And he,
Blue.
like, it's like not even half of it was true. It was like maybe a quarter true, and that's the fact that they had a party. That was it.
That sounds exactly like the Blue Avatar.
Right.
And it had this big picture of him like holding a tanker.
Yeah, like he's such a great guy. But it's like all the other avatars showed up, but he didn't invite them at all.
I think it was like something
Yeah,
like
they did show up.
it was like something like despite green treachery,
Yeah,
like
he said, "Ah,
blue,
come on, yeah."
blue parties, you know.
Yeah,
It was,
I mean,
it was
Yeah.
cool.
and that's literally getting back to the fact that each avatar had they were so different.
Yeah.
You know, Blue was the party one, and it just awesome, just really awesome. The avatars, again, were phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the bazaar was really cool for me. On the website, it even told that there was no going to be on-site food. I did notice that, and but they still had a food truck there, so I thought it was really cool.
I thought they had said that there
No,
was
they
gonna.
said there was not. You better, talk with your camp, and bring your own food. But generally, that's kind of like, in my own opinion, even if what if I just don't like what's being served? You know, it could just been all seafood. I don't want seafood, and I better bring my own food because I have, I can't complain because
They did allow barbecuing on site.
Yeah.
So that is huge.
Yeah.
I know a lot of campgrounds don't allow that. This campground did, and so I know a lot of people at Green Camp, myself specifically, barbecued a lot of food for both my Green Camp and friends.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I know Diego said the Shadow Camp, he didn't really get to get that bond with them that he was kind of hoping for. But with the Green Camp, I personally feel like we did. I think everybody in the Green Camp kind of bonded, especially at the end, towards the end. I mean, some of us not exactly loved each other, and we had some arguments, but at the end, we all kind of came together and we were all on the same page, and all the respect in the world. I mean, I had I wasn't worried about anything getting taken. I had my tankard out the entire weekend, and just left it in a specific spot, and nobody touched it. It was in the exact same spot I put it when I came back. Again, I missed the Friday event. So Thursday it was in a spot. When I came back on Saturday, literally in the same spot. So I mean, I think
player base.
Yeah, the player base was phenomenal.
Really, really good.
Great.
I was expecting more toxicity. Didn't see any of it.
I did not see it either.
It was a good community of people.
Yeah.
Like everyone did a good job, and they had a key phrase, like if there was like a bad situation or something needed to step out, which was "Oh Mother," and I only heard it once, and it had nothing to do with like player-on-player interaction. It was just someone going through a physical thing that was making them upset.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the only time I heard it.
I didn't even know that, nor did I even hear at any point in time anybody from the Green Camp saying "Oh Mother," but I did hear a lot of people from the Green Camp saying like it was their first time.
Yeah.
And they were blown away, absolutely blown away, and had just an amazing time all the way around. They were like, "Oh my God, I need to go look at LARPs more often." So, and that's kind of like, in my opinion, that's what you want. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear that the new players loved it and had a great time.
Yeah.
And absolutely 100% plan on coming back the next year.
There was a guy in our camp where this was their very first LARP ever.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
what I'm
It
saying.
was a lot of people.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying. Like we had
my
like
camp.
we had like 6 or 7 of them that it was their first LARP ever.
I was like, wow. I was like, you're getting spoiled, guy. You
And
have
they-
no idea.
And the people in our camp did phenomenal. One of them even led a ritual.
Oh,
And
wow.
and she was unbelievable. I mean, she literally got into it. She was like, because we're green, right? So it's all animalistic stuff. So she was snarling. She was down. She was like, doing. She literally like looked like an animal that was just a wild, ravenous animal, just doing the ritual, and screaming, howling, and growling. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then when she told me it's her first event, I literally was like, that's almost impossible to believe. Like I've seen people that have LARPed 20 years that can't do what you just did.
Yeah.
Boom, she just threw it right out there. So very impressive for all the new people, and I think everybody really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Characters, I really love the rat catcher.
Oh my God,
I
the
heard
rat
about
catcher,
it. I never saw
my
the rat catcher.
favorite
Character
player at the event. I
Yeah.
love the
So
rat catcher.
I did not see the rat
Just
catcher, and I'm very
wonderful.
upset.
I mean, I hope
Oh
they
my
bring
God.
this person back next
Yeah.
year. If said person would like to do it, of course. But yeah, I think it was just probably the most unique character.
Yeah.
Like in a sea of like heroes and champions and killers and
Got it right.
like edgelords.
Oh man.
There's like you were telling me a story about like you were asking about like, what's up with the rats. So go ahead, take that over.
So there was the garb contest, and the rat catcher was, I think their name's Rote or something, or
Oh,
Rota
okay.
or something like that, was entering it, and they had this basket
Mhm.
full of like little rats, and the rat catcher had one main big fake rat
Yeah.
that like they carried around and like would tuck in their shirt and like.
Yeah.
So this basket had these little ones, and I'm like, hey, what's up with the rats?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I got them. I'm like, oh, are those babies? And she's like, yeah, they're babies. I'm like, what are you gonna do with them? She goes, I'm gonna teach them to be rats. And I was like, that tracks.
No
I'm
argument.
like,
We're not arguing
just
that
like
logic.
had this like really like kind of like awkward like
Oh my God.
character that was just amazing to interact
So
with.
she was actually
gosh.
role playing
Yeah.
an awkward character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
nailed it. Like
That's
nailed
awesome.
it. Like from the first interaction, like this is gonna be like one of the best characters. And like throughout the event, I was like, this is amazing. Like I just want to see all the and like there was like there was another garb contest later that they
Yeah.
entered, and
Yes.
like we were like cheering, like
him and I were like
I
I
was-
was loudest we could
Yeah.
possibly be.
blowing my horn, like making all this noise. But after they like presented, they were in the crowd, and like when they were trying to like hush people, like she would like spaz out on
Yeah,
them and like curse them out and like start like flipping them off and like wiggling her rat.
Yeah, which squeak, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and would like but like playing this like kind of deranged,
Yeah.
awkward like
What camp was she?
No,
the
she was
bazaar.
yeah, she was a part of,
Bizarre.
she was an NPC. Yeah.
I am so sorry I missed her.
Yeah,
I would
she
love
was
to
in-
have seen that.
She was in the bazaar and like was just amazing, like
Yeah,
just an
awesome.
amazing character. And I really hope to,
Yeah.
to interact with her
So, yeah.
again. Yeah.
So Drachenfest, if you're listening to this or watching this, yeah, we would like to see another rat catcher and or like expand it for other characters like the Grave Digger
Yeah.
or some other characters that would be pretty cool.
I did see somebody with a shield that looked like a tombstone. I thought that was kind of
Okay,
cool.
he talked to me about how to make stuff, and I was giving him some pointers. His backstory was kind of cool. And the
I
fact that
didn't
it
get a
was
chance
the
to talk to
coffin lid of his
Yeah.
dead daughter.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like some necromancer had raised his dead daughter, which he had to kill, and then he took the
phenomenal.
coffin lid as a shield.
That is
That's
awesome.
And it's
See,
like,
that's a great.
what?
Yeah.
This is so like, it's like, that's hard to process. I'm gonna have to think about this for a while.
That is
And-
great though. That's what you're looking for. That's
Yeah,
what, that's
yeah.
those are the people that are going to
Again,
shine.
player base, and like,
Yeah.
everything you do, it's always about the people there that you go for. It could be a terrible game if the player base are like, tops. You're gonna go back for the player base every single
Every
time.
single time.
But if it's like, it can be in a fantastic staff, great writing,
Terrible
everything's
player
great,
base.
but player base are super toxic, you're gonna like,
I'm gonna
I don't-
pass.
I'm not
gonna
good. I don't
pass.
wanna deal with
I
this.
wish I
Yeah.
could continue playing that game, but
yeah, it's just like, I know I won't have a good time because the
Yeah.
people there
are gonna
are
ruin it.
ruin it for me.
Just on the topic of NPCs.
Yeah,
Marion, the bartender,
yeah,
she was great because Marion played basically marionette like
Yes,
like
she did.
She was like crafted by a wizard like
okay,
And she-
hundreds of years ago,
okay.
and like the wizard used to own the bar,
Yeah.
and like he left one day and
Yeah.
hasn't come back, and
Yeah.
she's just waiting for him, and great interactions. Like somebody had given her a book called The Prophet, and it had different like chapters on different subjects, and like love and like, and she was like, oh, somebody gave me this book. Like
Is it an
is
actual
this
book?
Yeah, it was a real book.
Okay.
And like would read passages like, is this true? Like, 'cause
Yeah.
she was a construct, like you
Right,
know.
yeah, she's
and
never experienced anything outside of this bar.
And-
yeah.
Yeah, there was. I saw her on Thursday, and she said, "Oh, I left the bar for the first time," and I was like, "Ever?" And she's like, "Yeah, ever." And I got to see all the camps, and it was cool. And like
Yeah.
after the main fight,
She actually fought in the main fight.
she did fight in the
Oh,
main
okay.
fight.
I
with the
didn't-
green team because
For-
we were
on
we
the
were her
green
best
team.
we were her best hippers. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Shadow Camp wasn't last, however.
Yo, also
Blue Camp was
I-
last.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But the best part was like talking to her after the battle. She's like, "Yes, it felt quite natural. I mean, I was created to be a weapon of war." And like, you're like, what? Like that was my intended purpose. But I also really enjoy like serving people. Like,
Yeah.
and like Baron, there's some darker aspects to you that.
I gotta tell you, she played her character very well because she was in the green camp, and everywhere she walked, she literally walked like a marionette.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So
Yeah.
it was, and I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that role playing aspect just really adds
Yeah.
to the entire
Experience.
mystique
Yeah.
and experience that we were going through. Yeah.
So, other good points. Sometimes player agency was hindered, but I think that now knowing what I know now, player agency is a lot more free than I'm used to. Because I'm used to having structure, like mods, hooks would be thrown our way, and like battles would just happen organically, instead of me just having to have the freedom to just go out and do those things. And upon reflection, I kind of like that idea, to where it's like, what if I wanted to explore more lore of the world that we live in, or the lore of the dragons, or if I wanted to, our avatar asked me, like, so how did you sleep? I said, terrible. And he said, well, why? It's like, well, I kept having dreams, or I had a dream where people kept stealing my glory, me accomplishing somebody and somebody else getting the credit for it. And he goes, you should go to a ritualist and have a ritual done to figure this out, or get it problem solved. And I didn't capitalize on that. And I probably should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The avatars were amazing.
Yeah.
Like they really. I can speak for the green avatar. Honestly, such amazing role playing ability.
Yeah.
To be able to switch in any situation. Like at one point, somebody had a ceremonial dagger.
Yeah.
And they were cutting everybody's hand to do it. And at a certain point, they walked away with the ceremonial dagger, and it was her turn to cut her hand, and she's like, and she just turned to us like, ah! And I was like, I mean, it's just a perfect example of she just moved with anything, like nothing seemed to take her out of her element. She just was there. And the entire time I was talking to her, the entire time I was role playing with her, she was always in character, never broke character ever, and just did such a great job of not only guiding the camp, but guiding them in a way that almost seemed like she wasn't guiding them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you kind of get the idea that she's telling you to do something, but yet she's not. You know, like it's kind of like you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but and the way she did it was just phenomenal. It was awesome, and I keep using the word phenomenal. Sorry.
Yeah, like you were saying, like I kind of wish I had capitalized on that stuff too, and really like gone out in the world and made more of it. I feel like my biggest hindrance in the game was myself.
Yeah, this obligation, this feeling obligation of kind of making sure that the camp is taken care of, safe watch, taking charge when nobody else was or will. That, and at some point I gotta say, okay, but I paid and invested a lot of time and energy into this. This is my event too, so I don't want to just have to be obligated to protect the camp. I want to go out and experience this world for myself. And so there was kind of like, okay, I have to like take off the shackles of that obligation and just engage in how I wanted to interact with this world. And so that's part of more mead rather than them, and they gave me that. I wish they had communicated that more early on, but this is where we are now. I think that there's a very good basis for where they started. I think they had a really good showing. I think I heard 400, 450
Really?
people, yeah, quite a few. And, that includes everybody, that includes staff and player base, so people who weren't on the battlefield, and they were to support, they were back at camp or in the bazaar and things like that. I think it has a really good potential, and I just hope they work on some of the things that we had talked about, and they bring back some of the things that we really, really loved about it. And next year, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm definitely going to show up. So your verdict would be?
So I would say, it was, again, I'm going to go back to, we know the staff that runs this game.
Yeah.
We played with them before. We know they're pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, I don't know if I speak for either one of you guys, but for myself, I know that they learn from everything
Right.
that happens. This was their first Drachenfest, and I think it was an absolute success. I think they did a great job. They tried to cover all bases. They didn't have security there. They had a security person there.
Yeah,
in case
24
anything-
hours a day.
Yeah, I mean, like, they run a good game, and I think
And it was a great security team.
Yeah.
yeah. And I think they run a great game, and I think they'll learn from. Look, it's their first Drachenfest. There's going to be issues. It's not going to be perfect, right? But they're going to learn from it, and I think this is the staff that's running this game will learn from it. Will come back, and I think the next Drachenfest, if they're the ones running it, is going to be even better.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll hear our critiques.
Right, and other
They'll-
players will understand, oh, I didn't know that, and so we can disseminate that information for you guys. as
And
well.
I think they would absolutely love to listen to this and
Yeah.
go through it and try to, make it better for the
Yeah,
next time.
yeah.
That's the staff that we're dealing with. They
Yeah.
want to hear the critiques. They
Right.
want to know what they can improve upon.
So
Yeah.
overall verdict.
I would say go. I'd
Yeah.
give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
100%. I would go back if they. So basically, easy answer. If they have it next year,
Mhm.
same place, I would 100% go back.
My verdict, definitely go. It
Okay.
was a great time. Like Brian said, I'm sure a lot of like the little things that we weren't crazy about will, get addressed.
Mhm.
And I think they're gonna build it and make it better. Maybe tailor it more to the American culture
Mhm.
experience. I know that some of us are talking like maybe like a midday break,
Mm.
like where like
Yeah.
nobody could get attacked
Yeah.
would be a good thing. It's not
Yeah.
something that happens in the German one, but I think
Mhm.
here with our mindset,
Mhm.
it would be good so that people can go out a little
Yeah.
bit more and
Barbecue
explore.
and
Yeah.
do other things.
Or go to the vendors.
Go to the
We'll find
vendors,
their
get
stuff.
food.
barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, it was great. I would love if it stays at a camp as close as it was to
Right,
me,
right.
but
I
it
agree.
might not. But if I think I'll probably go again, even if it like
Mhm.
if it's close, definitely go again.
Yeah.
If it's further away, probably go again.
Mhm.
Depending on how far.
Depending on how far.
I do
but,
know some people that drove,
Yeah.
Right.
days
Yeah.
to
Right.
get to it.
Yeah.
So
Somebody from Ohio was part of the bazaar.
Dallas, there
There
were
are people in
Dallas.
Florida
Yeah.
by us.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of people from Canada,
People
Dallas.
from Montreal, from
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah, of course. We knew quite a few from Bico.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nix and Fenris.
Yeah,
And,
Oh yeah,
Embassy
shout out
was
to
there.
Fenris.
Was it the characters from Embassy?
Yeah, Rum's Embassy.
Rum's
yeah,
Embassy,
we
yeah.
had some of them there.
And there was
Yeah.
a couple people that came from Germany
Yeah.
to just make sure that everything went well, which again, that's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
more impressive.
Yeah,
So-
Risa from Wyvern Craft was there. She's based out of Canada, but originally from Germany. And she's lending a lot of expertise and a lot of consultation and helping facilitate for the whole event. So let's. I would say that it is definitely. I'm gonna go next year.
Mhm.
There's certain things I'm gonna try and like engage in more, like the questing and things like that.
Yep.
Now that I kind of
Me too.
understand the rules of the game,
Yeah.
you know, and I kind of understand the world that they have established. Red team won, so they actually get the ability to design the bazaar, and then staff is going to be able to make that happen. So they, you know, they would just, red team would just say, okay, we would like it like this, and they would probably get pointers or like images, and like,
That's
you know,
kinda cool.
it'd be like this, and then staff would try and make that happen.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. It's where staff is trying to make a world based on what the player base wanted.
So when you win, you actually win something.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's not just like, hey, we won.
Yeah.
No, hey, we won, but we get to design the
Right.
bazaar. So
Right.
I mean, that's really cool.
And again, a shout out to the companions and Red Team. They're based out of Virginia, and I can't remember which specific part, but you know, Countryville, USA, Virginia. And but the companions are really solid, very regimented, controlled. They were a really, really solid group, so I want to shout out to them. And they'll probably design that. And it's a go for me for sure. I think it's worth the sticker price for a 4-day event. I think it's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
The cabins and the tents, not really worth it. I mean, they could have been a lot cleaner and you know that sort of thing.
Yeah.
More weatherproof, or at least a lower sticker price. You know, if they were
lower sticker
half,
price, I think.
if they're half
is the
what
way to
they,
go with
you
that.
know, if they were at least like half of what they were advertised as, I would have thought about it.
I think
Yeah.
the case would be if they were half the price that they were, they probably would have sold as many as.
Yeah.
They probably would have made as much money.
Yeah.
But they would have sold more,
Right.
Yeah.
and people would have been happier.
And they might have gotten more people coming.
And
Yeah.
they might have even gotten
Yeah.
more people. So probably the way to go. On
So
that.
yeah, it's a go for me. I drove 9 hours to get there, so it's you know probably in mid range just compared to other people. But you know if it was just like a 2-day event, driving 9 hours doesn't really work for me. But as a 4-day event, definitely, I think it's worth the investment. It has a solid brand name, and I think they're going to continue to work on it and improve. And you know, like I said, they would listen to these kinds of goods and bads and the uglies, and kind of like you know they're right, or like these guys are idiots, and so they would just kind of keep moving on. But you know, I hope they put out some sort of memo of like some sort of like survey and things like that, and you know that would benefit them.
Yeah.
I do know that they're gonna have they had a film crew or just like one guy with a camera and a jig.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's gonna be some pretty cool video and
Yeah.
photography coming out for this. It's gonna be great for Instagram photos and things like that. So you're getting that on top of it, so you can show people, oh, this is what I did for my vacation, you know, and you can post it on your Instagram or whatever. So yeah, I think it's absolutely worth it. And despite all of my rage, I'm still a rat in the cage.
No, well said. Well said.
Yeah, so I think it's worth it. Yeah, for sure. I did enjoy myself. Nothing else I could say.
I know I thanked the staff multiple times, but again, thank
Yeah.
you staff for
Yeah,
doing
you
a
guys
great
busted your
job.
butts.
Yeah.
We know you guys busted your asses to get to make
Yeah.
sure that everything went off well,
Mhm.
and it's appreciated.
Yeah.
So we have some comments.
All right.
Let me.
It's good to listen.
So Brian's pants are not poofy enough for a good Bruce fellow.
What?
What is
Who
this,
said that?
amateur hour? You know,
These
Poofy
are
Mason.
super poofy. What?
You're talking about mine.
Oh,
yeah,
yours.
my pants. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not very poofy, dude.
So Lartbeard said the forum is on the website, so you can check the website. So and again, I didn't know anything.
I do plan on
Yeah.
hitting that and leaving a couple comments, so I will be on that.
So Paul Beach says, how cute are these guys? Thanks. How did Puddlefoot get all that gold?
Somebody who knows me too well.
Okay, so so hi Sarah, so she's saying hi. And the book, The Prophet was by Khalil Gibran.
Oh.
I'm probably butchering the name, but that's the name of it. And he asked, why did you guys decide to play on different areas?
That's a funny
So,
story.
yeah,
That's
so
a
go
funny
ahead,
story.
put
So
that one, yeah.
I'm gonna go with that. About what was it, like 3 weeks before?
Yeah.
I had hit up all these guys, and I kind of wanted to play with all of them, and I made mention that we should all just get together.
Mm-hmm.
We're all strong fighters, and I thought we wait until see which team was the weakest,
Mhm.
and then put us on that team, so we can help bolster that team and make it a competitive team. But you guys unfortunately had different plans. But I'm actually kind of glad you did, because it was nice to hit Diego a couple times when he wasn't looking.
Right.
Yeah, that's when he would hit me when I wasn't looking.
Yeah, right.
You know what? Hey, I still hit you. Hey, look, I'm still looking for the spot where you hit me. It's not here.
You were too busy running away.
Oh, no.
Hit and run.
No. I was still standing there after I hit you. I was smiling at you.
So yeah, I was. I didn't facilitate that. Being a leader in our group,
Yeah.
I didn't facilitate it. I actually wanted to go into the bazaar
Bizarre. I
and
remember
like
that.
kind of be neutral to all of that, so I could go to different camps and things like that. But there was a bit of an issue with that, where I put in the application, but there was no email back to say it was
Well, you
approved or denied.
Yeah, they had mentioned something about you running the Fighters Guild,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden when you got there, they were like, yeah, something's
No.
changed.
Well, I mean, being a part of the Fighters Guild, not just
Oh.
not running, because I didn't want to run anything. But it's like, yeah, one of the refs like, you don't belong here, so put your chair somewhere else. Like, all right. Yeah. So,
I think you knew a couple people on Red, so you went Red.
yeah, I went red. I knew all the companions. I knew they were a solid group to be with.
I had a couple of my friends, Jeremy
Mhm.
and
Dan.
Nick and Dan, that were both all playing green, so I went in with them,
Mhm.
and you just thought Shadow fit you better, right?
Well, when we were, we hadn't signed up for anything until like pretty last minute, and I thought when I registered that you were doing Bazaar. I mean, you thought at that time
Yeah,
you were
right.
doing Bazaar
On the
too.
day of setup. Yeah,
And I looked at Bazaar and saw, it was an application process. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get into that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're already gonna be kind of split up.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big Oathsworn
Yeah.
presence.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this would be a nice chance to play a character from my old home game
Yeah.
that ended in 2019.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, what camp would fit with that? And I was like, Shadow would fit that character. And that was actually, that's another big highlight of this game,
Yeah.
is you are encouraged to play characters from other games.
Yeah.
Because it's as if you were taken from other worlds as champions
Yep.
of the dragon. So my character, with all its history and like all of its experiences, completely relevant in this world.
Yeah.
And it felt nice, it felt great. But yeah, that's why I chose Shadow, because I was like, you know what, let me do it, why not,
I
So-
think if we go back,
Yeah.
we were all discussing about possibly doing like an Oathsworn group,
Yeah.
in the same fashion. Maybe just try and help out whatever the weaker group
Yeah.
is to try to help.
So yeah.
I
I'll
think
see
if
what
the
happens,
Oathsworn went, blue would be the
Yeah,
color.
yeah, because they were the party group.
They were the
Yeah.
party group.
Yeah, they had a full bar. and
Partying
they were
all
drinking
night.
all night.
There,
That would fit us.
but not only that, like just like the feeling of that camp and like the whole freedom aspect,
Mhm.
like the Oathsworn's kind of a very free group,
Right,
like,
right.
and I think after experiencing it, like that's where we would, as a group, fit in most.
Mhm.
But yeah, it'd be interesting if they
Yeah.
did it again with like everyone else. Like I don't know.
I really like the green group, but if I was to leave the green group to go to another group,
Yeah.
100% it would be the blue group.
Right.
I mean, they were absolutely hilarious. I was at their camp at night, and they all kind of got drunk in front of the fire, and I was off in a tent, talking to some other people on the blue team, and all I'm hearing is, cheers to, the blue avatar, and then everyone's like, yeah, and then like, cheers to the shadow avatar, yeah, and then also it's like, cheers to coin, yeah, cheers to the bazaar, and it just kept going, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's coming, I know it's coming, and I'm like, I'm like, and they're like, cheers to the green avatar, and I'm like, what? Like, we just attacked you like 2 hours, like less than 2 hours ago. They gave craps. They just they were cheersing to everything.
Right.
And that party was awesome too,
it
because
was-
like
they were
every camp
just
showed
awesome.
up.
Yeah. I was there.
and
I
Sophie
didn't.
performed.
Yeah, I was even partying with them. I mean, they're just phenomenal. I mean, and the blue avatar is just that. He is pretty much an ass clown. And no offense to the blue avatar, but you played it perfectly.
Yeah.
Just absolutely hilarious. Not caring about anything but party. I think they actually called a complete ceasefire.
Just because of this.
What was it? I think it was Thursday night or something like that. The complete ceasefire Thursday night after a certain time because they just wanted to party.
Yeah.
And they invited everybody to their camp just to party. I mean, how can you not love that?
And that was the kind of stuff I was looking for. Like, that's
I mean,
what
that's,
you know.
how do you not love them for that?
Yeah.
I was like,
Just like, you know, Biko wise, like that it gave me that same sort of feeling,
Yeah.
that big party with everyone, you know, we kill each other during the day, but we drink together at night.
Valhalla, baby.
That's the atmosphere I like.
Right. Sarah asked a question about where I got this mug. So I'm going to plug my friends at Feed the Ravens. Really, really solid, like historically accurate pottery. And it's this cost me, I think, around $75-80 for this. Absolutely worth it. Just really durable and just fits in the hand really nicely. And design-wise, it's just really, really solid purchase. So yeah, Feed the Ravens. Check them out and tell them the Bearded Axe sent you.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. I think picking different camps was beneficial because we're getting different perspectives.
Yeah,
We're not
absolutely.
getting one side's perspective of events and things like that. We were all fighting against each other.
Well, it was funny because sometimes we were.
Yeah. We really were.
I mean, I remember when green and red joined sides, and we were on the same side. So it alternates so much.
Yeah.
I mean, and even the avatars were saying like one day you're going to be friends with them, the next day you guys are going to be enemies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it worked, you know. And there was no hard feelings or anything like that. It's just, you know, hey, this is going to benefit us, and let's do it.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Any other questions? You're very welcome, Sarah. Yeah, that's basically it. It's already kind of getting on to be a long video, and yeah, this is our opinion. These are our final thoughts of the overall event and day 4, the final battle. And yeah, if you guys liked it, click the like, sub, share, all that stupid stuff, and yeah.
We hope to see you guys next year over at Drachenfest.
Yeah.
Like the Bearded Axe, like the Oath
yeah,
Sworn.
right.
I'm gonna plug them.
Right.
Find them on Facebook.
Yeah, like them on Facebook. And again, Nemesis Blades, a really solid weapon. I'm gonna try and give a good, solid, you know, destructive review of the blade and see how well it performs under, you know, my abusive hands. And yeah, and a badass Garb. I mean, I've heard their name mentioned more than once.
That is an amazing.
And it's a really nice.
I complimented you before when I saw it. I'll compliment you
Really,
again.
really nice.
I went there to see if they had anything else like that, and like they didn't have anything by that point, but
I went on their website and looked, and I didn't see anything like that. But I mean, maybe you guys can contact them and ask them if they can.
They probably would, and they literally
I'm
have
sure they
a
would.
sewing team next door.
Oh,
So if
really?
you needed something custom, they probably would have done it.
oh wow.
At the event. So, or if you like something, it's like, hey, can you tuck it in here? Could you make it shorter? Whatever. So
Could
they
you
would
add,
have done
could
that.
you add some
I
of the
wish I would've
designs on it and
known
stuff like
that.
that?
Possibly, yeah.
Because there was a couple plain tunics that I like. I wasn't a fan of some of the stitching, so I passed on it. But if like they had a team there, if they could have put like a panel of like a different color over it or
Possibly,
something,
yeah.
That's what I'm looking
I would
for
have
too.
I would've done
I will
that.
probably hit
I
them
mean,
up to get
can't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
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 All right, well, that's all I got for you today, nerds. I'm going to send you home with a be humble, be helpful, and be honorable. Thanks for watching. Drink up.
Peace out, guys.
Skull.
Skull!
Skull.
How do I end this stupid thing?
Bro, I'm gonna go check on your potatoes and
Famous
burn
last
right now.
words.
I'm sure.
Oh, no, I shut it
Oh,
off.
you turned it off? Oh.
I don't know how to stop this thing.
Alright, we'll just keep it going.
All right.
Well, I'm looking up. Something say.